Here we go again. This is the follow-up to Global Atheist News, which came out a day late. Yes, I know, but we had something on last night, and we'll talk about that during this show. And it's called Views on the News because I have an opinionated panel, a panel of opinionated people, starting with, from British Columbia, Dread Pirate Higgs. How the devil are you?
I be fine, thank
you. And following up with David Orenstein not from New York, because I know where you are. You're in London, and you're here as a result of me.
That's right. It's all your fault, John.
I'm sorry. So let's play the intro.
Was the Pope appealing for peace, or was he praying for peace?
And the same applies to the carry and drag.
Yeah, that's a good question. So what do you have to say about that, guys? So I ought to apologize to Tercia in case she sees this, because she wanted me to get her on screen last night so she could wish us well from South Africa. But my laptop is 12 years old. It's almost steam powered. And I couldn't persuade it to get onto this software, StreamYard, that we use for shows like this. So I wasn't able to get her up. But never mind. I've apologized. I hope that's not why she's not with us tonight, and I hope she will join us later. So, taking a look at the first item of news. Iran's state media reported on the helicopter crash a week ago, in which President Ebrahim Raisi died, along with seven other people, including their foreign minister, Hossein Amir Abdullahian. But they've all been buried, of course, by now, laid to rest in a holy shrine, whatever's appropriate. And so we're now looking at the aftermath of this horrendous event. And of course, it's mixed, because millions of people despised Raisi for overseeing the deadly crackdown on the woman life freedom movement, the protests that erupted in 2022 in Iran, a year after he took office. And he also faced calls for an international investigation into his alleged role on the death committee, which ordered the mass executions of political prisoners in the 1980s. So a lot of people are rather pleased that he's dead. But of course, the country is not putting out that message. So here's what a female student says. She took part in the protests 2 years ago, and she told the BBC, "People are so happy. Most of them are wearing white or bright colors and smiling at each other. The image they keep showing to the world is that we're all sad, that we loved him, but it isn't true." Mm-hmm. Now, what do you think about that?
Well, I was going to say that nature abhors a vacuum. So, just because the old guy's out doesn't mean they're any safer or any more secure in any potential freedom that they might expect. And I guess that's evidenced by what the message going out is from the government side, which is in opposition to what the people feel.
Yeah. They're not representative, their government, are they?
Yeah. Well, state media reminds me, like in any theocracy, it's like any other terribly run government. They're going to show to their own people and the people of the world whatever message they choose to broadcast. So
Yeah.
so there's going to be censorship, and it's going to look like a collective sigh of sadness,
Yeah.
even when this guy admittedly didn't want to give women and others their civil rights. But as Dredd said, there's no loss of people who want to take these people's place, to continue the suffering.
Yeah. So the thing is that we've got a government that's in control of the media.
Right. Exactly.
That's never a good idea.
Right.
But that student went on to say, today, when I attended my classes, there was a big banner of Raisi's face in the university's main hallway.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think the students did as they went past?
I don't know. It depends if
They gave it the middle finger. Yeah.
Wow. Well, as long as there aren't any secret police around to record, I guess they'll do what they're really feeling. Yeah.
Well, I hope they can get away with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this sort of thing isn't restricted to the countries that it originates from anymore, is it? So, for example, we've had these protests in European capital cities, including in Milan, Italy, where there's been the usual tent-based protesters, taking up residence in university spaces and supporting Hamas. I mean, what do they know? Supporting Hamas? But this take a look at this little video. What's happening is the students are now kicking back at that protest movement. And I really mean kicking. Watch this video. I can't speak Italian, but I understand that what they were saying was, go back to your Muslim countries. They're finally reacting to this tented protest by supporters of Hamas.
Well, I don't like to see violence perpetrated against people who are doing peaceful protests. And the fact of the matter is that these people are screaming, go back to wherever you came from. Some of the people who might have been protesting, and I don't know anything about this other than the video you just saw, might have been Milanos as well. So, I don't see how this can be considered dialogue when people are putting their boots on people's necks.
No.
Yeah.
It's not dialogue.
Yeah. And just, I mean, why? It baffles me why so many people are so eager to get involved in these theocratic or ideological, disputes when they are not in any way invested in it.
No.
Like I know atheists and pastafarians who are saying death to Jews and death to Hamas, and it's like, why are you
Mhm.
weighing in on this?
Exactly.
You know, it just baffles me.
Yeah. I never dip my toe into this because it's intergenerational,
Nope.
and it's all based on faith, and it is the Hatfield and McCoys of the
Yeah.
of the Semitic world.
Yeah. Shakespeare knew a lot of stuff back then.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
so
for sure.
the message is keep your noses out of other people's business.
Yeah.
Focus on the stuff that you can do something about.
So I'm going to take us
I mean,
to go on.
Well, I mean, certainly, like, I empathize with women in Muslim countries who are forced to wear head coverings, against their will, and suffer punishments of it. But I'm not going to start stomping my boots on people's necks in order to force my message on anyone, right?
No.
There's other ways of doing this stuff.
That is,
like we do, right?
Yeah. You don't persuade people physically. That's not how you. That's not how you.
That's not persuasion.
No, absolutely not.
It's virtue. I mean, that's and a lot of this campus stuff is so much virtue signaling because there are Muslims being killed in Muslim countries, and that no one has ever batted an eye. They have just focused on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict as their reason for being, completely, not looking at Saudi Arabia and Oman and all these other countries where,
and Sudan and absolutely,
Iran, exactly.
What they're doing, in my mind, is taking the football supporters mentality to political issues. It's not appropriate.
Right. I totally concur.
So I'm going to take us to the United States. Now, David, I know you're not there, so you can feel free to.
All right, so this one is not my fault.
Exactly. you can express an expat's opinion.
Bravo.
And we're going to Louisiana. Or maybe I should say Louisiana, because it's next door to Texas, isn't it? But on the coast of the Gulf of Mexico, and so it's a particularly individual state with its own attitudes and policies. And what it's doing at the moment is banning, well, not quite banning, but redesignating abortion pills as dangerous controlled substances, which is the category that includes Valium and Xanax, the mind-altering drugs that cause addiction. But the two pills that they have redesignated are mifepristone and misoprostol, and they are not only used in abortion. One of them is given to cause abortion, and the other one is given to subsequently empty the uterus. But and it's what you might call the medicalized face of abortion, because anti-abortionists like to portray abortion as some medieval practice involving forceps and dismembering babies whole babies inside wombs and pulling out bits one by one. That doesn't happen. It's now done medically. Well, yeah, but that's what they want to portray, isn't it?
No, of course.
Yeah. It's now done medically with these two drugs, which can be used or have historically been available for up to 10 weeks of pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
But what Louisiana is doing is making them in the category of drugs that you can't possess without a prescription, on pain of jail time or thousands of dollars in fines. So what do you think of that?
Well, they're not. They're reclassifying these drugs as if they're like, you know, heroin or
Opioids.
drugs,
Yeah.
psychedelics, which they're not. And the medical community is up in arms. This all goes to the fact that, you know, once the Supreme Court, Donald Trump's Supreme Court,
Yep.
avoided Roe versus Wade, all of these states in the United States that are anti-abortion and anti-women by consequence of that, are figuring out lots of legal ways to, in effect, remove a woman's right to reproductive freedom. Even drugs that don't do what they're claiming they do, they are still passing laws saying that we are going to make them equivalent, which is just so. You mentioned medieval before. It is a scarlet letter to wear, and it's terrible because, you know, they say the United States of America, of which I was born, right? But there's no way in heck that these United States are anywhere near close united. And it's my hope that Donald Trump pays the price in November for the damage he's done with the overturning of Roe versus Wade, because he will be the Republicans' nominee for president against Joe Biden. When you mentioned being an expatriate, you know, that might happen sooner than later. If Trump should darken the White House again.
We welcome you here, David.
Thank you.
You know, sort of on that is the surprising fact that so many women in, you know, the Republicans are against women's rights by virtue of their willingness to try and put an end to the women's right to reproductive freedom. It's just absolutely mind-boggling.
Illogical,
and it's such a violation of church and state, because any argument against a woman's right to reproductive freedom, by its nature, is a religious argument.
Yes, of course.
Which does not belong in secular democracy.
Indeed.
You don't want, if you don't want to have a baby, that is absolutely your right.
Sure.
But you should not be preventing other people, certainly based on your religious faith and identity, from stopping other people from terminating their pregnancies.
Yeah, absolutely. Theists,
or even having access to I was going to say comprehension.
Contraception,
medicine to, you know, they make it illegal to even like take the pill, so you can't, so, you know,
religious people, keep your noses out of our genitalia.
Exactly.
That's what I say. Yeah, and it's not as if these two pills only have that specific application,
right?
Because one of them is used for miscarriages and ulcers, and they've been in accepted medical usage since 2000. That's when they were approved.
Right.
And there's no medical reason for declassifying them. As you say, David, it's just got to be a religious reason.
Right. And there was an actor who was asked about this, and I don't know if you're familiar. I think he's on the show The Handmaid's Tale, and his response was beautiful. He just said, "under his eye." which if you
Yeah.
know anything about the show, it's like that's one of the things that people say in the show to, say, under God's will.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm. Huh.
Yeah.
If only people would realize that there's no evidence for their God,
Right.
then it would all go away.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, here in England, not that far away from where I live, it's about, I live in West Sussex. Now, Sussex is a wide county, 300 miles.
Mm.
That's big by our standards,
Mhm.
And so it's been divided into two administrations. I live in West Sussex and there's East Sussex.
Mhm.
So about 2 hours drive away from me in East Sussex, there's a church, the St. John the Baptist Church, in a village called Sedlescombe, which is north of a town called Hastings that you may have heard of,
Mhm.
famous from battle days. And the former vicar, I4 Whitaker, of that church, has been alleged to have carried out offences. He's charged with rape and gross indecency of a boy aged under 14 that he carried out in the 1990s. But it's not outside the legal, what do you call it? You have an expression in America for when an offense.
A statute of limitations.
That's it. Yeah.
Yes.
We don't. I'm not sure whether we have that in this country, but he's certainly not gone beyond it. If we do,
Mhm.
so he is now charged with this offence, and he's due to appear in court on the 10th of June. And the police are asking for anyone with information that could help their investigation to contact them. So, the long arm of the law,
Very good.
decades long.
Well, hopefully he gets what's coming to him, which is not only being defrocked, but jail time. In the United States, for years, the Catholic Church just moved predators from one place to another. My
Yes.
dear friend, who I don't know if you've had on her show, Sue Cox, who is a UK person, just got her OBE not that long ago.
Oh, no, I don't know of her. Please introduce me.
Yes. But she's wonderful, and she was the victim of sexual abuse, which she's talked about often, and was known for, and was an activist for quite some time. This stuff doesn't go away. It either is in the news media or it's not, but it doesn't go away. And when you allow these monolithic organizations to quote unquote police themselves, the last thing they're going to do is actually police themselves. So there needs to be a secular element to maintaining control, so children are not abused. How disgusting it is to abuse children, the most vulnerable amongst us.
Yeah.
It just boils my blood.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So there's one item of good news.
Oh, good.
Which is, again, in England. There's been an attempt, I would call it a despicable attempt, by the Church of England, by a local diocese of the Church of England in South London, which was attempting to merge two schools. One is called Charlotte Sharman, which is a big school. These are primary schools, but it's a big one, and it has no religious character. and the other one is a small Church of England primary school. And that one is undersubscribed. And so they were proposing to save money by merging the two together, because it's more acceptable than closing the undersubscribed one. But the outcome that the local diocese of the Church of England wanted was for the resulting combined school to become a voluntary aided Church of England faith school.
Right. Of
Right.
course.
And that would have meant that the school, and I'm ashamed to have to say that this is what that means in this country, where more than 50% of the population declare themselves not to be religious. But that would have meant that the school would have been legally, unbelievably, able to discriminate based on religion, on the basis of religion, who they admitted once they were oversubscribed. They got to take everybody up to the level that subscription is set at. But when it goes beyond that, they can say, we'll have you, we won't have you, because you're a Christian, C of E, and you're not. And not only that, but they would have been able to discriminate in the hiring, the promotion, and the salary setting of their staff. If I was a teacher and I wanted to work there, I would have been turned away through not being Church of England. Do we want that? Well, the good news is that proposal has been prevented.
Well.
Yeah. And the campaign to prevent that happening was led by the National Secular Society. So well done them. Yeah. Oh, Fred has popped out again. I think he's coming back. Yeah, here he is. He's on a dodgy connection. Hello again. So there you go. So that is a moment of success. We've resisted the Church of England, which is
I didn't hear the final. I didn't hear the punchline.
Oh, sorry. Okay, well, I'll repeat that to you. The church's wish to make it the combined school into a faith school has failed. Right. Yeah.
Nice.
And it was the National Secular Society's campaign that caused this to happen. Yeah.
Good.
So
awesome.
It's ridiculous, isn't it, that we have laws that date back to the early days of my life that mean that we've got to fight these things in this country.
Yeah. Well, certainly Canada has its own issues. Most recently, my passport application was rejected based on the photos I submitted where I'm depicted in my tricorn. And this is with a lawyer's letter, with a personal declaration that I wear it for religious purposes, and without explanation, without anything. They just said, no, forget it.
No appeal?
They don't even allow themselves to be contacted directly. This is opaque. This whole process of the Canada passport thing, completely opaque. And so we're going to send them a couple more letters, and then we're going to take them to court, and federal court.
Yeah,
the federal Supreme Court. Yeah.
Good.
More power to you. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I mean, this is, this may not be the Iranian front lines, but if the people who are trying to, or pretend to uphold the freedoms of people or oppress peoples around the world are themselves oppressing the people in their own countries under the guise of being free democratic societies. It's bullshit. I mean, pardon me. But
No, you're spot on.
it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
Right. It's everybody but you is just as bad as everybody but them.
Bonhoeffer again.
Right.
Yeah.
It's hypocrisy at its worst, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, good luck, and I'm glad you have an attorney.
Well, thanks.
Who's,
Great.
Yes, and he's doing it pro bono, so that's
fantastic.
Wonderful.
marvelous, right? That he's actually behind it.
Mm-hmm.
He's not just looking for a dollar. He's doing it because he believes.
Good.
So
Yeah. Very good. Very good.
Every wedge has a thin end, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And we don't want to get it.
Actually, so my lawyer, I've just thought about this. My lawyer asked me to talk to people I know, and I prepared a small letter that is just an affirmation that people know me as a pastafarian, that they've seen me wearing a tricorn in public.
Mm-hmm.
Would you can give it to my lawyer in support of
Dred,
my case?
if you have my email, please email me a copy of the letter. I'll sign it, I'll scan it, and I'll send it back to you for use for your lawsuit. It's my pleasure to do so.
Absolutely. Me too. And we have lots of evidence of you wearing your tricorn and speaking on behalf of pastafarians. So can't be denied. Yeah. Guys, you've been wonderful.
Okay.
I'm packing this in because I'm running out of brain cell here. I was up pretty busy late last night, David. So we could say a bit about the Changing Minds in Changing Times event, where we had 5 excellent speakers, including David. And I did video it, and it will be eventually edited and uploaded to the Atheism UK site, and probably to Lawrence's Origins Project site as well. And it because it was his birthday.
Awesome.
and we had cake.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. And it took a little while, but it was fun. So thank you very much, those who were there and those who will see the videos in future.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Sure.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Was the Pope appealing for peace, or was he praying for peace?
And the same applies to the carry moon drag.
Yeah, that's a good question. So what do you have to say about that, guys?